The North American Animal Liberation Press Office was formed in 2004 in response to uncritical media coverage of animal liberation activities. Particularly, there was a raid on a laboratory in 2004 at the University of Iowa in which 401 animals were liberated from conditions of severe oppression and experimentation. And the media reported only on one side of the story. We formed the press office to provide the other side of the story for media and the public who are interested in hearing both sides of the animal liberation struggle. But historically, there are more animals suffering and dying at the hands of human beings today than there were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
When I come back and see that people are standing up for the rights of animals, I think that this is a wonderful thing because people are fighting for human rights, they're fighting for animal rights, they're fighting for environmental rights. This is a wonderful thing, and it's got to be done because these injustices have to stop.
Most of the people here fight for human rights and fight for civil rights.
Well, I believe that.
It's all intertwined.
It's all intertwined, that's right.
If others think that laws that you like are wrong, do you want to give them the right to use violence to achieve their objectives?
When another group of people or another group of beings is being violently oppressed, as animals are in our society and as Black Americans were in the day when they were not protected by the Constitution, then I think people have a moral obligation to do what's right, to stop that oppression, to stop that exploitation, to stop that suffering. And if I was doing something that was causing pain, suffering, and exploitation, I would hope somebody would stop me. I used to do animal research, and somebody did talk to me about it, and I did change my mind, and I'm out there trying to change other people's minds as well. Like in all liberation struggles, there's a need for illegal direct action, whether that's economic sabotage or whether that's direct action against a human being that is harming an animal and won't stop using more peaceful means. The Animal Liberation Front and the Animal Liberation Movement is one part of a broader movement for the rights of animals. There's people who work on legislation, there's people who are leafleting and those that are protesting in an above ground manner. There's many arms to our movement, just like any other struggle for liberation throughout history. The struggle against apartheid in South Africa, the struggle for civil rights here in this country. All of those movements contained a wide variety of tactics, including peaceful and non-peaceful ones. For every Martin Luther King, there was a Malcolm X in the background who was threatening harm or violence if peaceful means were not pursued. So that the Animal Liberation Front and the other animal liberation organizations who do operate outside the law are simply one arm of a broader movement that strives to provide rights for animals. Not rights to vote or rights to drive a car, but rights to live free of suffering. UCLA has got to understand that this is serious business, that activists are not going to just keep asking politely and nicely forever for them to stop torturing these animals. The Animal Liberation Front typically utilizes violence against property as opposed to violence against human or non-human animals. Compared to the violence that is used by animal abusers on a daily basis, in which millions of animals are killed, the animal liberationists in general are a much more non-violent organization. In fact, many would say that they're an anti-violence organization. They're against the violence perpetrated against animals on a daily basis as part of our societal structure.
non-domestic terrorism threat is the eco-terrorism, animal rights movement, if you will. And as I indicated a moment ago, there is nothing else going on in this country over the last several years that is racking up the high number of violent crimes and terrorist actions, arsons, etc., that this particular area of domestic terrorism has caused.
Now look at me. Do I look like a threat to domestic security?
Activists, of course, scoff at the label.
Being a native New Yorker and having lived through 9/11, it's hard for me to embrace that terrorist label. I know what real terrorism is. Real terrorism is watching people jump out of windows of buildings, watching a plane fly into a building. What we do is not terrorism. What the Animal Liberation Front does is not terrorism.
The Animal Liberation Front, far from being a terrorist organization, is an anti-terror organization. The Animal Liberation Front is against the massive amount of terror that's inflicted on non-human animals every day in our society. Animals in laboratories, factory farms, fur farms, zoos and circuses. The Animal Liberation Front is opposed to terror. One reason that the general public has become more aware of the cruelty involved in fur is the footage taken on fur farms by animal liberationists when they were breaking in, freeing animals, and inflicting economic sabotage. The Animal Liberation Press Office receives information from the underground animal liberation movement, such as the Animal Liberation Front, typically through the use of an anonymous communique or an anonymous message that is sent to the press office and frequently sent to other news organizations as well. We'll take that communique, issue a press release explaining not only the action that was taken, but also the ideology and philosophy behind the action that was taken, and then be available to answer questions and appear for interviews on behalf of the mainstream media. Of any type are not terrorists. It's those who terrorize animals in laboratories and other places that should be labeled as terrorists. So that the general public then can be advised and made aware of both sides of the story. They don't see just a laboratory being broken into by some vandals or just some mink being liberated by a fur farm, from a fur farm by someone who's out to spend a Saturday night doing something else. There's an ideology. It's a very well thought out ideology by these people who are interested in helping animals, who have compassion for animals that are living under conditions of abuse. Any person who is vegetarian or vegan and who takes illegal direct action on behalf of animals could consider themselves a member of the Animal Liberation Front if they abide by the guidelines of the Animal Liberation Front, which in particular mandate against harming any human or non-human animals. Again, there are other animal liberation organizations that take a different approach, but anyone that wants to become a member of the Animal Liberation Front can do so by acting on behalf of animals. The guy that had his car firebombed the other night is not an innocent bystander. He is torturing these animals to death in these laboratories. I don't have any sympathy for him whatsoever, and we are entirely sympathetic with those who are trying to stop him. We wish they weren't necessary. We wish that they would listen to reason.
What's her name?
I don't know. You get to name her.